Hello, Luke here. I hope you all had a great week so far. In today's video, I'll be demoing an installation of Active Directory, and then we'll join two Windows servers to the domain, and then we'll do a walkthrough of setting up service principal names and looking at some of the common issues you may run into when working with SQL Server and Active Directory. If you haven't done so already, this is part of the DBA Challenges newsletter that I try to send out every Saturday. As you can see, this is February 3rd's edition, where we're talking more about Active Directory from a DBA perspective and kind of the importance of knowing some of the terminology as you communicate with your domain admins and system admins. I think it's crucial that you both are using the same terminology. So I will go ahead and switch over to what we're going to cover in the demo. So first off, the demo environment consists of a few machines. DC1 is going to be our domain controller. SRV1 is one of our client servers. It already has SQL Server 2022 installed, the developer edition, and SRV2 will be our client server, and we only have SSMS installed there. Kind of the steps that we'll be taking is the first one will be installing Active Directory domain services on DC1. Then we will promote that server to the domain controller. We will then create the domain and join our member servers there. We'll come back to step 5 through 13 after we get that finished. I'm going to go ahead and drop off the screen here so that we've got full screen and switch over to our demo environment. I'll go ahead and spin those 3 machines up. I'm using Vagrant to kind of manage my environment and add some automation. And this will take probably just a few minutes to start these machines. If you're curious about adding any automation to your sandbox, I'll leave a link below. I do have a course that kind of takes you through 8 modules to where you'll be introduced to tools like HashiCorp, Packer, Vagrant, and Ansible, all using VMware Workstation Pro as the hypervisor. So instead of building your machine, spending hours building your machines, you're spending more time actually using your sandbox than you are building it. And it's very easy to destroy it and rebuild it using Vagrant and some of the golden images that you learn to build. So check that out. Again, I'll put that down in the description along with the DBA Challenges newsletter sign up. As we wait on SRV2, actually it's completing now, let's go ahead and switch into DC1, and we will start with installing Active Directory domain services. So let's go ahead and just go to Start Server Manager. And I am using Windows Server 2022 Standard, the Evaluation Edition. And we'll go into Manage, Add Roles and Features, and we'll click Next through this wizard. And here we're going to select Active Directory Domain Services. By doing that, this wizard will install a few other tools, Group Policy Management, which is really important when you're managing a domain. Role Administration, we'll go ahead and say yes, include management tools, and then add features, and then go ahead and click Next, Next again, and Next. I'm going to go ahead and select this, restart destination server automatically if required. Go ahead and just click yes on that pop-up and install. This part usually takes a couple of minutes, and then we will actually promote this server to our domain controller. That installation is complete. Go ahead and click close here, and you'll notice this warning symbol up here and your notifications. Go ahead and click on that, and we're going to select this promote this server to a domain controller. And since this is the first domain controller, we will be creating a new forest. Root domain name, I'm just going to name it homelab.local. Then click next. And for the password, just provide a secure password. And this is for the directory services restore mode password in case you needed to restore directory services, you would be prompted for this password. We won't cover that today. And that's not something that you as a DBA would be doing anyway, typically. Go ahead and click next. This is just saying a DNS server cannot be found, which makes sense because this is a new domain. We don't even have a DNS server, but we will have one at the end of this installation or this promotion. Go ahead and click next here. We're going to take the defaults, next, and then install. All prerequisites checks passed successfully. Click install, and this takes a few minutes. The server will reboot. You'll notice that when it reboots that first time, it takes a little while longer than what it typically did as it was prior to being a domain controller. But generally, that's just the first restart that you'll notice that. So I'll go ahead and pause the video and let the wizard complete, get through the restart, and then we'll continue on. Here we are after the restart. I'm going to go ahead and go back into Server Manager. And we'll go up to Tools. And you'll notice we have a few Active Directory tools here now. We're going to jump into Active Directory Users and Computers. Actually, we're going to go to DNS first and set up our forwarders. So once you're in DNS Manager, just right-click on your domain controller and go to Properties, click Forwarders, and I'm going to just put in, I believe these are Google's DNS servers. I'm just going to put one in, 8.8.8. And if you're not familiar with the forwarder, basically this server will forward any requests that it's not any computers or any names that it's not hosting in its local DNS. It will forward those requests out to the server that we just placed so that our member servers can resolve addresses on the internet. So now that that's done, let's go into Active Directory Users and Computers, and you'll see that we have our domain here, and we've got the default folders or OUs here, nothing in computers, and just the default users and groups here. One of the first things I'm going to go ahead and do is just create myself a user. Just name it Luke. That way it's easy for me to remember. Click next and then provide a password. Go ahead and uncheck that, click next and finish. And then I'm going to add one more account this account we will actually use as our SQL Server Service account. We'll just name it SVC SQL Server. Now you can, usually my preferred method for accounts for SQL Server services is to use managed service accounts or group managed service accounts, just because Active Directory will maintain the passwords associated with those, and it will rotate those passwords I think it's every 30 days by default, and you don't have to restart SQL Server in those cases. But today we're just going to stick with a traditional account. And we'll click finish. One more step, I'm going to add myself to the domain admins group. This is sandbox, and it will eventually be destroyed anyway. All right, now we're all set there. We'll jump back to computers, and now we are going to join our member servers. So step 4, and then we kind of skipped around a bit, but we went ahead and created the SQL Server Service account and the user account. So back on SRV1, I'll go ahead and go into Server Manager, click on Local Server, and then click on Work Group, click Change, and we're going to put in our domain name, which is homelab.local. Click OK. You'll need to provide a domain account here. So I'm just going to use the new account that I created. You can also use the administrator account if you've just set up a domain and you've just got the admin account there. And this is something typically would be done by your sysadmin or your domain admin as they're building the server for you. Let's see, I put the password in wrong. But it is good for you to see the whole process, I believe. All right, you should get this message. Welcome to the homelab.local domain. It will require a restart. While that server is restarting, let's do the same thing on SRV2. Jump into Server Manager, click Work Group, Change, and then click on Domain. Then click OK, and the server will reboot. Let's go ahead and check on SRV1. That's back online. I'll go ahead and log in here. I'll use my account. And this is our server with SQL Server 2022 Developer Edition installed on it. We'll go ahead and jump into the SQL Server 2022 Configuration Manager. Let's see if it's running. I'll go ahead and start it. And you'll notice right now it's just running as the local built-in account, NT Service MS SQL Server. I'm going to go ahead and check the protocols, make sure TCP/IP is enabled. And then for this, I'm going to go ahead and just disable the firewall. If this is something that you want to use in your sandbox, then you can go in and add a specific rule to allow port 1433. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off just to keep things simple for this video. That is done. I'm going to do the same thing on SRV2. Log in with the same account. Again, that's not something you would do in production, but All right, I'm back on SRV1. I did forget one step. If I try to connect using my new AD account to SQL Server, I won't be able to because I have not added that user. So I need to log out here real quick and log back in as the local admin, bring up Management Studio, and then add myself as a sysadmin real quick. All right, first thing we got to do is create the login. Then we're going to go ahead and add that account to the sysadmin server role. All right, now I'll just stay logged in as this, but I can switch over to SRV2 where I'm logged in as my AD account, open up Management Studio, and let's see if I can connect. I can connect and slide this to the right. You can see that I've connected with my Active Directory account. The next step I always like to do is look for any service principal name errors or SPNs inside the error log. You can see since we're using the built-in account for SQL Server, for the SQL Server service, we don't have any SPN issues because there's an SPN associated with the actual computer account. When you change that to a domain account, we may have issues, especially if that account doesn't have access to create SPNs. And in our case, in most cases that I ran into, the account does not get assigned those permissions. So you end up having to manually create the service principal name, or a domain admin needs to create it. And those are the steps we are about to go through. Just because it is a pretty common scenario that I've ran into when dealing with servers joined to the domain SQL Server using a domain account. So let's go ahead and jump into SRV1 and then the configuration manager. We're going to go ahead and stop SQL Server. Once it's stopped, go ahead and double click on it, and we're going to change this to use our SVC SQL Server account. I'm going to apply and OK. And we'll go ahead and start it. Let's switch back over to SRV2 and just try to refresh our connection. So we were able to reconnect. Sometimes you'll get a target principal name error when there's a SPN issue. Usually if there's a duplicate SPN, you'll get that. We didn't get that today, but that's just something to be aware of. Let's go ahead and look at the SQL Server error log. And you'll see this error, the SQL Server network interface library could not register the service principal name, and then it gives you the SPN. There's actually two, one with the port defined and one without. And then that's just saying that you may not be able to use Kerberos authentication with that SPN missing. So it says it's going to default to NTLM instead of Kerberos. So let's see if that's the case. Let's go ahead and open up a new query window, and we're going to query the DM_exec connections DMV and see if we're using NTLM or not. And you can see that all the connections are using the NTLM authentication method, and our session ID is 62. If we find that 62 here, we can see that we are using NTLM. So at this point, this is where you would ask your domain admin to create those two SPNs. But since we're a domain admin in this environment, let's go ahead and do that ourselves. So I'm back on the DC domain controller. I believe you can do this on any server that's joined to the domain. I'm just going to switch back over here and do it here. We'll open up a command window as the administrator. And then we're going to use a command named set SPN with the S switch, and then we're going to provide it those two SPNs that we need to create. So this is the service, MS SQL SVC. This is the server that's associated with the service, and then this is the account that service is running as. So we can see it registered the SPN. Let's go ahead and do it one more time. This time we're going to provide the port. So that is finished. This may take up to 5 minutes longer if you've got multiple domain controllers that this is being replicated through. So I'm going to go ahead and restart both SRV 1 and 2. And once these servers have been restarted, we'll jump back into the video. So after both servers have been restarted, SRV1 and SRV2, open Management Studio, reconnect. We are on SRV2, and then run that same query, select star from sys.dm exec connections. We can actually limit this a little bit more by specifying just our session ID equals where session ID equals our SPID. And you can see that we are using Kerberos. Now let's go check the error log again and see if we're still getting that message. We know the SPN is in place. We are using Kerberos, so that validates that we do have a good SPN in place. However, if we go back into the error log, we can still see that error is being reported, even though we do have a active SPN in place and we are using Kerberos. Getting this error because that specific account doesn't have a needed permission inside of Active Directory to be able to read to see if there's an SPN in place. So let's go fix that. Here again, you as a DBA probably wouldn't have access to do this, but you could communicate with your domain admin that this permission is needed so that error goes away and you can clean up your logs. So we're going to go ahead. We're back on DC1. We're inside Active Directory users and computers. We're going to change our view to the advanced. We're going to enable the advanced features for our view. And we're going to go back into users. Go ahead and right click on your service account, SVC SQL Server. Go to properties. We're going to go up to security and then advanced. And then under advanced, we're going to go ahead and click add. And then here for select a principal, you're just going to type in self. Go ahead and check that. Check names. It should get an underline and then click OK. And then scroll down just a bit under properties. You're going to see this, or your domain admin will see this, read general information. Check that. click OK, click OK again. And now we're going to go back to SRV1 and restart the SQL Server Service and see if that error goes away. Let's jump back over to SRV2 and close out of the error log, and we're just going to open it back up. I'm going to expand it, and now you'll see the SQL Server Network Interface Library successfully registered the SPN for both of those SPNs. We know that the SPN's in place. SQL Server can read that information from Active Directory using that account because we gave it that permission. And let's go ahead and verify that we still are using Kerberos for our connection. And we are. Actually, let's just close that window, disconnect, and we're just going to reconnect again. Go ahead and run the same query. And you can see we're still using Kerberos. So those are pretty common errors that you may run into whenever you're either setting up a new SQL server, or you're changing the account, or changing the password, or if your account has lost those permissions in AD. So some things to watch out for as you're working with Active Directory. But again, I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough of that. And you do have the steps that you can set up Active Directory in your own sandbox and kind of go through these scenarios. Nothing like getting your own experience with that, because I know a lot of times you may not see or be able to see the Active Directory side of things, but getting familiar with it, I believe it just enables the ability for you to communicate better with your domain admins, especially when it comes to specific permissions that they may not know or may not have ran across yet. So I hope you found this helpful. Leave a comment down below. Hit that subscribe button if you'd like, and let me know what you think, or if you have any other questions. Thanks a lot for watching.